Never, for as long as I live, will I forgive Bill Condon for invoking Howard Ashman's memory in that stupid attitude interview. I will never not be angry about it.
Go back to the war! Blood, explosions, countless widows. Widows.
Yes, yes. We know we've been pretty harsh in this series so far, and we're gonna continue to be harsh when it's necessary, but this video is gonna have a lot more praise than the previous ones. Let's start with things we didn't like though. In the last video, we talked about the different progressive promises Condon and others made about this movie in the months leading up to its release. The announcement of the exclusively gay moment involving LeFou, who they touted as the first openly gay character, was a big deal when it came out. Get it? When it came out, because he's gay. Bill Condon, Emma Watson, and Dan Stevens were featured in a 9-page interview in Attitude, a gay British magazine, and they were on the cover. This news was everywhere, and for that reason, it was the most embarrassing promise they made.
I remember reading this interview back in March and thinking that maybe Condon, an openly gay man himself, got it. Maybe this would actually go beyond the casual queer coding Disney's engaged in the past. I was wrong.
Within 3 days of this news, Condon told Screen Crush, "It's all been overblown because it's just this. It's part of just what we had fun with." Gee, Bill, I can't imagine why that happened. I wonder why people got so worked up when you and your leads raved about how this character was gay and how he was the first openly gay Disney character. Why would it be overblown?
There were parts about LeFou being gay that I enjoyed as a queer person because they resonated with some of my own experiences. There's an exchange right before everyone sings Gaston, which in the 1991 movie, Gaston actually says to Belle. Here he says it to LeFou, and I found it to be a subtle, funny moment.
Picture it, LeFou. Rustic cabin. My latest kill roasting on the fire. Adorable children running around us as my love rubs my tired feet. But what does Belle say? I will never marry you, Gaston.
What does Belle say?
That eye roll at the mention of heteronormative romance is the most genuinely gay thing in this movie. I feel it in my bones.
But the exclusively gay moment Condon spoke of is 3 seconds long. That's it. You could blink and completely miss it. I did the first time we watched it. Nearly every reference to LeFou's gayness is played off with a comedic, lighthearted tone. He's got a lot of cringy, completely unnecessary one-liners that really feel like they were written to amuse a straight audience, or by a straight man. Or two. Even later on, LeFou's pain and abandonment are just played off for laughs, and it's really just awkward.
The only other queer presence in this movie was Stanley, who gets dressed up in drag for a joke, which is in the original movie, but this time it's funnier because he actually likes being in drag. It's a cute joke, and I won't say that his delighted smile didn't warm my heart and make me laugh, because it did. But this representation is nothing special. Queerness in this movie, like in countless Disney movies before it, is fine as long as it's the subject of ridicule. It's okay because the audience knows that those things aren't okay.
Also, there's already a gay couple in the castle. They make a more compelling couple of gay characters than LeFou and Stanley, although that's borderline giving Disney credit for something they haven't actually done.
Alright, just gonna say it. Gaston and LeFou had the most compelling relationship of this movie. Way more interesting than Belle and the Beast's romance. But just to be clear, the gay man pining for the straight jerk thing is not what made it so.
First of all, Josh Gad and Luke Evans totally killed it in every scene. They had the funniest lines, actual development, a fun chemistry together, and unlike the 1991 film, which was very much a villain and bumbling sidekick relationship, you could really believe that there was a real relationship between these two characters. Evans and Gad can also actually, you know, sing and dance, which is really helpful given that this is a musical.
Also, LeFou and Gaston's arc is basically the beauty is found within storyline, which is kind of funny because we're supposed to have that between the actual romantic leads, but it's not really there. And if that theme actually is present between Belle and the Beast, the way it's employed with LeFou and Gaston is much more compelling. LeFou is the one who really has to learn to see Gaston for the terrible, murderous monster he is, and not the dashing, charming, beautiful war hero he's attracted to. As it relates to this theme, LeFou being queer actually strengthens it. Do I wish LeFou wasn't the subject of ridicule so often because of his attraction to Gaston? Yes. But because LeFou is attracted to Gaston, he is more likely to look past Gaston's violent tendencies, and that makes this realization that Gaston is actually a bad person much more engaging and, I think, relatable.
LeFou's turn in character is built up to subtly and slowly, and it works. We see him learn and grow throughout the movie until he's not so blindly following Gaston, mostly because he's seen what Gaston's influence over the other townspeople has done to Belle and Maurice. When the town turns on Maurice because of LeFou's lie, he finally realizes that what Gaston is doing is wrong and that he's wrong to support him. One of my favorite lyrical changes in this movie is in the mob song.
There's a beast running wild, there's no question, but I fear the wrong monster's released.
The fact that LeFou is riding at Gaston's side still gives me chills.
When he does actually switch sides, it's pretty fast, and the tone is really weird. Like, Gaston literally lets LeFou get crushed by a piano, and this scene is supposed to be funny. And then LeFou and Mrs. Potts have this weird conversation that just sounds much too modern, and it takes you out of the scene.
Used to be on Gaston's side, but we are so in a bad place right now.
Even if he doesn't get to do a whole lot, he does get the chance to atone for the mistakes he's made. And that's something we don't get from the original that we both actually really liked.
We loved Gaston, but sometimes we didn't quite understand his motives. We'll get into this in tomorrow's video, but we didn't really see why chasing Belle would excite him in this movie. Maybe it's because we didn't see much of what we like about Belle in her, or it may have to do with this movie staying too close to the original story.
He was great in the musical numbers. His transformation from a charming but vain veteran to a heartless, conniving villain was chilling and fantastic, and he wasn't just a cheap copy of the original character. Actually, he's quite different from the animated Gaston, which was a refreshing change. Refreshing because when I go into a remake, I expect to see something at least a little different. Something different that's also done well. And Gaston's character change was. 1991 Gaston is a cartoonish, overconfident misogynist who is very real in his own way. But 2017 Gaston is also quite real, just in a different way.
The town doesn't idolize him from the very beginning, which makes the scene where he convinces them to imprison Maurice terrifying. This Gaston is fascinating because he's a pretty regular, charming, even likable guy at the beginning who becomes unhinged when he doesn't get what he wants. That's another thing, actually. Gaston is so likable and fun at the beginning that he makes Watson's Belle seem unreasonable for being so rude to him. The movie does hint at Gaston and Belle having some history, but it doesn't take any time to explain it, much like many of the other issues with this movie. It just relies on the fact that you, as an audience member, know what happens in the 1991 movie.
Gaston and LeFou were one of our favorite things about this movie. The songs from the original movie still worked for them, but their story and characters were different and new. It's just too bad that Belle and the Beast couldn't be as developed. We'll see you tomorrow.